When we talk about Islamic law, we have this thing that we've just been talking about indirectly without really dealing with it, which is the idea of independent juristic reasoning, or al-ijtihad. Al-ijtihad. Now I'm going to just use the Arabic term because it's shorter. Ijtihad. Ijtihad is the capacity of a jurist to derive law independently. Yeah? He can do law by himself. That's the kind of, he's an elite jurist in that sense. Yeah, an elite scholar. The idea of ijtihad linguistically is to expend effort and exert one's capacity to the utmost in any action. Yeah? So I often kind of have fun with my students and tell them, هل اجتهدت? And did you work hard for the exam? Yeah, like that. And they say, I could have done a bit more, and maybe I should have revised that question better, and that sort of thing. So ijtihad is the idea of expending effort, and actually it comes from exactly the same root as the other J word. Jihad. Okay? And actually jihad is the same thing. It's this idea of expending effort. Yeah, but of course it means it's taken on so many new contexts now. Okay? Here though, technically speaking, we would say a jurist's exertion of his ability by using a method of deduction to become acquainted with Islamic legal rulings. So he is at the peak of his capacity, the pinnacle of his skill, and he expends every effort available to him using a method of deduction. Qiyas or analogy is one form of those that we just mentioned, so it could be qiyas, it could be something else. To produce, and the objective is to produce an Islamic legal ruling. In other words, define for us the intent of God regarding this particular case. So as you can see for that, as I've been mentioning, this is a tremendous responsibility, in addition to being actually really difficult. And we can start thinking about what kind of skills would that kind of person need? What would the skills of the Mujtahid be? What would he need to know, or she need to know? Let's go one by one. Quran. Yeah? I mean, here, it's worth mentioning, does he have to memorize the text? Technically, many scholars said no. He needs to know the 500 verses. He needs to know the legal import of the Quran. For example, if for example, like in the one we give, this is a story of prophets, but he needs to know that could be applied somewhere else. But he doesn't need to memorize the Joseph narrative to know that. He knows the Joseph narrative, he just needs to go and check maybe a quick referencing. But in many cases, of course, the serious elite jurist was a memorizer of the Quran anyway. I mean, that was just the kind of default position for many scholars in history. Until now, in fact.